Hey, what's going on, guys? Extended here. Flapjack was one of the craziest cartoons to hit Cartoon Network in the late 2000s. Its interesting episode plots and freaky, almost horrific moments kept viewers guessing at what would be happening next. In my personal opinion, Flapjack didn't get the amount of love it deserved and was gone way too soon. However, I was pleased with the amount of theories I found that weren't commonly known about this show. In this Iceberg Explained video, I will cover the creepiest episodes, coolest facts, and darkest theories about Flapjack. Before I start, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and check out some of my other Iceberg videos. It really helps me out. Without any further ado, let's dive in. Highly rated. Although Flapjack was one of the shortest running shows on Cartoon Network, it ranks 17 out of 52 on the IMDb rating scale. With only 2 years running and a total of 40 episodes, it puts this show in competition with shows like The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, which ran for over 5 years, and Star Wars: Clone Wars. And keep in mind, this is while only being placed in 23rd for overall popularity. So while not as many people watched the show, the people who did really enjoyed it. It's too bad that it didn't appeal to a larger demographic. Some interesting character facts. So Flapjack is said to be around 5 to 10 years old in the show, which makes a lot of sense based on how he acts, whereas Captain Knuckles is said to be 40 by the show's creator. However, when we watched the show, Captain Knuckles said he's 11 times Flapjack's age, putting him at a possible 55 to 110 years old. Inspiration. The show's creator, Throp Van Orman, had been an adventurous child and continued to go on adventures and live on his own as an adult. After finishing school, Throp moved to Shell Island, traveling by surfboard. He hand-built a hut all by himself and hunted, however he couldn't last very long, running out of food and suffering other types of problems like sunburns. Adventure time. This is probably one of the most well-known theories about the show, and it's that Flapjack and Adventure Time share the same cinematic universe. It's said that the harbor was one of the places built after the Great Mushroom War, which is why the harbor doesn't look very nice and looks really run down, and that Candy Island is actually similar to Candy Kingdom, and the evidence to support this theory is that the reason Finn and Jake haven't discovered the harbor yet is because Jake is terrified of the water, and that Candy Wife was originally created in the Candy Kingdom by Princess Bubblegum and ended up going home to Stormalong with Peppermint Larry. Flapjack voice actor. So originally, the plan was to have Pee Wee Herman record the voice for Flapjack, but he never ended up coming to record, so the creator decided to take control of the voice acting for Flapjack. Cammy Island is about the episode where we follow our main characters who hide on a ship that they thought was headed to Candied Island, and they hide on the ship successfully by pretending to be sardines. Upon arriving, we meet the terrifying giant who inhabits the island, and all we know is that she regularly gets delivered sardines from sailors, even though she hates them. This could be the sailors doing it in spite, but it's unlikely based on how scared and terrified they were of her. But possibly they do it to keep her at bay, and maybe she's a lot more dangerous than she seems when she's hungry. In the rest of the episode, Flapjack befriends Cammy before leaving, but she doesn't like the idea of Flapjack leaving since she's so lonely, and this is another possible reason the sailors have food she hates, and that's so that she doesn't become interested in them or think that they're friends. Apart from that, this episode was just pretty creepy based on how Cammy acted, and it was really just kind of terrifying. Most certainly, if you watch this show, one of the things you will remember is the weird transitions and choice moments to make something ultra realistic. This comes from the show's creator being a big fan of stop motion animation. However, doing this for the entire show would be very inefficient and very costly, so he decided to settle for a mix between stop motion and several other forms of animation, which honestly I think makes the show a lot more interesting and keeps it feeling fresh and different consistently. DS game. DS game's talking about the video game, which was planned to be released on the Nintendo DS. However, once the show was canceled, sadly the plan for the game was as well. And other than that, there's not much known about the plot or plan with the video game. cursed images. Like I said, there were a lot of crazy moments in this series, and I still see memes to this day with images from the show. Some of the greatest cursed images this show has to offer. Lost Pilot. This is talking about the original unaired pilot, which has since been recovered partially after being lost. And really there's not a whole lot to this pilot, but it is interesting to see what Flapjack started out as, and I'll play you guys a little clip so you can see.
My name is Flapjack, and I've come in the spirit of adventure to challenge you to an arm wrestle. Yeah, this is gonna be fun.
Cancellation. The reason Flapjack was cancelled was sadly due to not appealing to the older boys demographic, which is really unfortunate, and some also speculate it had something to do with high production costs, and in my opinion that sounds like a load of shit, but who am I to know? It's honestly a shame that awesome shows like this get cut so short, way before they have a chance to develop any kind of lore or plot behind it, but oh well, I guess. Isolation. Isolation's talking about the overall feel of the show, particularly the setting. I mean, think about it. Flapjack and Captain live in the fictional location of Stormalong Harbor, which appears to be largely in the middle of the ocean, with nothing surrounding it and nothing being under it. It's pretty much the nightmare for people with the fear of not knowing where they are or being lost, also known as maze phobia, or the fear of the ocean, also known as thalassophobia, because we pretty much get the worst of both worlds in this show. So if this is you, don't watch the show. Rat clip. Something I found on Reddit was talking about how there was a scene in an episode called Footburn where the captain's pet rat is shown. And this was done by stop motion animation, and like most of the stop motion animation things in this show, it was probably terrifying. The post continued to talk about how this version was changed and the only place you could find the original clip is now out of service, and that the clip appears to be lost. And if we're being real here, if it was scary enough to be removed from Flapjack, it's probably for the better. Davy Jones' locker. Sort of similar to another theory later in the video, this states that the Candy Island is the end-all. What I mean by that is that the setting where Flapjack actually takes place is purgatory. Purgatory is what Catholics believe to be a place or state of suffering inhabited by the souls of sinners who are expiating their sins before going to heaven, and Candy Island is the ideal location, or the heaven in this instance, to be sent to once they are judged. The show's impact. This show had some really big names involved in it, who went on to change so much in the industry. J.G. Quintel, the creator of one of my favorite shows of all time, Regular Show, Pendleton Ward, the creator of Adventure Time, and Alex Hirsch, the creator of Gravity Falls. These are all some of the most successful cartoon series in recent history, which have had so many great pieces of derivative work created for it. Except this one, we do not talk about this one. And without these big names being involved with the development of Flapjack, these creators might not have went on to make these excellent cartoons, which would have had a major loss for the millions of people who watched and enjoyed these shows and left a massive hole in the industry. Captain's liver disease. This theory states that our main character, Captain Knuckles, is slowly dying of liver disease. We can clearly see that our captain doesn't look like a normal healthy human with dark blue skin and missing hands. Notably in the show, Captain has an addiction to syrup, which is an obvious kid-friendly way of showing his alcoholism. And that kind of reminds me of the soda cans in Regular Show, but that's besides the point. Given that Captain likely has serious alcoholism based on what we've seen, he would sooner or later develop liver disease, one of the most common diseases associated with alcoholism. A symptom of this can be cyanosis, which can turn parts of the body a bluish purple color. Now, in my own opinion, there's also a large chance that Captain could have diabetes, because cyanosis is also a common symptom of that, and considering Captain's entire diet is based off candy, the possibility is totally not out of the question. Suicide mission. Alright, these last three are all of the darkest theories I could find in the show. Suicide mission was a theory I found on Reddit, which was later deleted, so all I can do is speculate on this theory based on what I could find in the replies. So the highly sought after Candy Island was never truly meant to be reached, as they couldn't truly utilize it while living, and they can only fully access Candy Island in the afterlife. So the plan was Captain Knuckles was going to kill himself and Flapjack to fully make it to Candy Island, or the afterlife. Captain Zeppetto. This theory definitely pushes the realms of possibility, but it is one of the darkest ones I could find. Basically, the theory states that Captain Knuckles abducted Flapjack, and the adventures we see in the show is Flapjack trying to cope with it. It also states that Flapjack represents his conscience, and Hubby represents Flapjack's therapist. Bubby's the murderer. Alright, now I know this one sounds a little interesting, and it's definitely a crazy one. This theory states that Bubby actually murdered Flapjack's parents, and the evidence supporting this is Bubby's hesitation to tell Flapjack where he came from in the episode titled Oh Brother. Also, Bubby seems to be the only whale we see in the show, with one exception. This is possibly due to her species being overhunted to extinction by humans, and her kidnapping kids like Flapjack is a coping mechanism due to the unimaginable stress she must have being one of the last living of her kind. It's likely that she could have killed Flapjack's parents by destroying their boat and letting them drown and only saving Flapjack. We can also infer that she's had multiple kids as well, based on her acknowledgement of having multiple quote-unquote babies in the show. And all of this would be reasonable pieces of evidence to support the claim. Pretty crazy stuff. That's all I have for today, guys. Make sure you check out my socials and other icebergs. If you have something you want me to cover, please let me know in the comments. Have a great day.